Hey, this is Andrew Nemec with the Oregonian and Oregon Live. I'm joined, as always, by high school football expert Jordan Johnson. Jordan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, buddy.
This weekend, Ford Sports Performance, the top 7-on-7 program in the state of Washington, and Eforce Football, the top 7-on-7 program in the state of Oregon, clashed in a series of matchups. Each program brought four teams, an 8th grade team, a 9th grade team, essentially an underclass elite team, and then their elite squad. And you guys kind of played round robin where everybody played everybody, and then the last matchup were the two elite teams against one another. A matchup that Ford Sports Performance won 46-20. I think it was a little bit of a disappointing showing from Oregon, but at the same time, it was Oregon's first actual game ever. They'd only practiced together a couple times, and it's a big deal in Seattle. They have leagues, and this was coming off multiple league games, 12 league games or something for Ford Sports Performance. So they're already in postseason form while you guys are still kind of in preseason mode. So not a huge surprise with the result, but at the same time, maybe a little disappointing it wasn't closer. What were your thoughts on a general scale, and then we'll talk about prospects?
Yeah, first off, give credit where credit is due. Tracy and Ford Sports played incredibly well, and I think it was really good in that they are going to be one of the better teams in Las Vegas. They do well. That youth team won the national title last year. So from a repetition standpoint, I think it was beneficial. It was their 20th game that they've played 7-on-7 wise, and that was our first couple games that we played this year. So we definitely have a few things that we're going to work on over the next couple weeks. But from that standpoint, the same thing happened the last couple years. We just haven't played that many games. So the good thing is, from a talent standpoint, I don't have any worries there. It's more of a structural thing where we need to implement and be prepared for teams like that, because to their credit, they were dialed, they were moving, they were energized, they did everything right. And I think these next couple weeks, like I said, will be very beneficial from a practice standpoint. We have 5 Pac-12 offer kids on the field as of right now, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it is a repetition thing and just getting a few games under our belt.
It's really impressive, and I don't think people realize how big 7-on-7 has become now with Eforce Football and with Ford Sports Performance, specifically with those two, and they really are the giants. Ford Sports Performance, I think, has the top 6 skill position players in the state or something along those lines. Oregon, you guys have just about everybody. Tim Tao obviously has to play basketball or is focused on basketball, but he comes to some of your events and things. But you have everybody at your events. If you're a guy in Oregon right now, I've gotten a chance to see you through Eforce. So they have Elijah Molden, David Morris, Demetrius Douglas, Connor Neville. Those are all guys with Oregon offers, Oregon State offers, or they're 4-star prospects. Daniel Green's another one. So it was a chance for me to be there. I think I saw probably 15 future Pac-12 talents, maybe more, when you scale all the way from the 8th grade up. Probably more like 20 Pac-12 talents. So for me, it was really valuable. The guy that stood out to me was Washington commit and safety Connor Weddington. 8 interceptions on the day, just in the day, 2 in the championship game, including one where he was in the middle of the defense, clearly read a go route on the edge, sprinted all the way over there, jumped over the top to pick it off and get a foot in bounds. It was one of the most athletic, rangy plays I've seen by a high school safety ever, and I know it's 7-on-7, but still incredibly impressive. To me, he was the day's MVP on the defensive side of the ball. What were your thoughts as far as the top defensive talent we saw on the field?
Yeah, you can't really argue with 8 interceptions and a committed Pac-12 kid to the University of Washington. He also was the Conference Player of the Year offensively, so the kid can do it on both sides of the ball. Yeah. So, and he's another grinder. He's not going to miss out. He's at everything. He's just that guy. So, I would probably agree with you there. Kid out of Eastlake had a nice day throwing the ball. Obviously, he was super dialed. Savon Ahmed and Elijah Molden both not playing. That will be a difference maker.
Sure, for both teams.
And for both teams in Las Vegas, both the top recruits in the state of Oregon and Washington for 2017. So, but having Elijah back, that leadership, he'll be with us, fully healthy, all that, for the next couple weeks leading up to Vegas. So we're all super stoked there because he is a leader, not just with his talent, but with his just straight, discipline.
Well,
So,
he shuts down not only in 7-on-7, a corner is so valuable because if he can really shut down his guy, he can actually shut down half the field on 7-on-7. And we've already seen Elijah do that at the Pylon Las Vegas 7-on-7 tournament. I think he allowed one completion or didn't allow a completion the first day. And obviously, Oregon was working some things out. They had a really disappointing first day in Vegas last year because those were some of their first real games, bounced back to make the Final Four on the national tournament. So we've seen this from Oregon before, and we've seen Elijah be a huge factor for Oregon before. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Obviously, you touched on Savant Ahmed, who dual talent, 4-star prospect, top 100 player nationally, could end up being a 5-star. Offers from Oregon and Oregon State, offers from a number of schools throughout the country. A huge piece, and I had a chance to talk to him for 10 or 15 minutes, and what a neat kid. I mean, not only was he there cheering on the 8th graders and the 9th graders passionately, but also I talked to him about prospects and football, and he has, one, a significant knowledge base, and two, he's not afraid to pat guys on the back. He's not afraid to say, that guy looks really good. I really like the way he opens his hips, or I like how fluid he is. He was talking football with us, and I thought that was really encouraging to see. He was just a really nice, respectful kid, and same goes for Elijah. He showed up, and I had a chance to visit with him. Always a great kid. I continue to be impressed by the quality of character in the Northwest. A lot of good kids. Offensive side of the ball, I thought that Hunter Bryant, he's the number 3 tight end in the country by 24/7 Sports. He was dominant. He's got an offer from Oregon State. Lined up outside, and he's listed at 6'3", 235, and I don't think that's accurate. I think he's more like 6'1", 6'2", 225, 230. But couldn't believe how quick he was. He can play outside, and I think at the college level he's not going to be a wideout by any stretch, but he can play fullback, he can play tight end, he can even play a little slot receiver. Moves incredibly well. The question's going to be, is a team going to be okay with him being like more 6'2", 230 than kind of what we see now with a lot of Pac-12 tight ends specifically, where they're 6'5", 6'6", and move well. What were your thoughts on Hunter Bryant? To me, again, really showed some athleticism I didn't expect.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State, Nebraska, a few of those schools have offered as well.
Yep.
Washington State. Tracy says he will be one of the top tight ends ever to come through the state. So let's say he's 6'2.5". He's still kind of put in that tweener position because of his size. Regardless of how good he is, they'll find a spot for him, whether it's fullback or what have you. But the kid's a real deal. I mean, he's going to have a host of offers as an athlete or whatever. But between him, Savon, Connor, Weddington, and just those other kids that don't necessarily have a ton of offers for Ford Sports, I mean, give them a lot of credit. Like they've definitely grinded the last couple months to get ready, and they're going to do well in Vegas. I mean, they got it down pat, and I think I think it was good for our kids to see too, because that's what we run into. Last year we made that 6-game run. We went 1-2, lost on a Hail Mary the last play of the 3rd game, the first day. But that's pool play. It doesn't matter. And then we won 6 in a row the second day to get to the semifinals and lost to Bishop Gorman. So once again, we have a little time because in all actuality, that second day of Las Vegas was when it counts. That's when win or go home. So it was good to see FSP yesterday, and we'll be able to review that film. We have all the film. We'll be able to go over that. We have practice Wednesday and this weekend as well. So, I think it was a valuable experience.
Oh, no doubt. And some of it was trust, some of it was communication, some of it was just getting the plays down and understanding you saw some guys in the wrong spot. But when you have it figured out, you'll have Elijah Molden on the edge in one corner, obviously one of the top corners in the country by just about every recruiting service. The other side is Jesuits Demetrius Douglas, who has an offer from Oregon. And he kind of plays a safety linebacker hybrid, but he'll play more of a safety, I guess, for you guys. David Morris has an offer from Oregon State. He's a 3-star talent. Your middle linebacker is Daniel Green, who has an offer from Eastern Washington, but Oregon State, Washington State, most of the West Coast is on him and about ready to offer. There's a lot of talent. Anthony Adams is he's sort of a forgotten guy in that group, and Anthony Adams is legit. I mean, he would be a first-team All-State defensive back if he weren't at Newburgh, where he plays a lot more quarterback than he would, say, if he were at Jesuit. So a lot of talent on that defensive side of the ball. I'm not concerned at all. I think it was a great experience for Oregon because it was an eye-opener. I think some of those guys were living off of last year's Final Four, feeling like, hey, we're a squad. Eforce football is a squad, and those guys were a squad because they put in the work. Brady Breeze, Sam Neuer, those guys are dudes, and they're not afraid of anybody. And we saw a little bit of tentativeness once they started getting behind, like, oh wait, we're not the best team on the planet, and you saw some guys kind of struggle with that. Demetrius Douglas struggled yesterday a little bit. Braden Lindsey, a 2018 corner out of Tigard, who's already visited Ohio State, Purdue, Oregon, and Oregon State, I think, are hosting him during their camps. He looked a little bit tentative and scared as soon as things started to snowball, because I think it was really early, 20-0 in the first 10 minutes. But those guys will bounce back. They're really talented, and I'm excited to see what Eforce football can do. Did want to touch on some of the younger guys. There were some of the nation's best, and I know that sounds silly, but we did have 2 national championship teams from 8th grade competing. The 8th graders obviously are current champions from Grant were there for competing for the 8th grade team, and then Washington's 9th grade team won the 8th grade championship last year, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so for the 8th grade team for Washington, another hyped team, a wide receiver, Galen Scott, he goes by G. I couldn't believe how good he was, and I'd heard that he might be one of the best receivers ever to come out of Washington. We heard that talk a long time ago. I mean, that started when he was young, and I don't like to talk about 8th graders and 6th graders and whatever, but I'd heard about him for a couple of years. He didn't disappoint at all. He was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, his name's G. So no, he's a real deal, man. I mean, he was going up and he was scoring over some of the juniors, sophomores and juniors as an 8th grader. I mean, he's that dude. I mean, we'll hear his name plenty over the next couple of years, and he was a part of that 8th grade team. Our 8th grade group, we beat their 8th grade team, who's legit.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about those kids. Elijah Elliott is an absolute freak. Silas Starr is another name that we will hear a lot. Our 8th graders got a real shot if they can keep it dialed and keep keep doing what they're doing. They had a nice day.
Build on this. They had a huge day. They were awesome. Cade Knighton, the quarterback from Oregon City, I've heard about him since he was a 6th grader because he was already being billed as the nation's best 6th grade quarterback 2 years ago. Got a chance to see him really in reps for the first time, and he's an 8th grader. He's going to make mistakes with his reads. I forget that sometimes. I watch him oh, that wasn't a great read. And it's oh, yeah, he's an 8th grader. And he just threw the ball 30 yards downfield on a rope. He's really talented, and I think Oregon City should be really excited. I think that's where he's going to end up. Is that right? Is that where he's going to high school?
As of right now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all OC. Maybe you remember Brittany Knighton, his sister, who was 2-time player of the year in girls hoops, and then Hunter Knighton, his brother, wide receiver, 6'3". So he could definitely grow. 2 things to reference is 2 of the quarterbacks for the 8th grade teams were not there. Jordan Wooden, our 7th grader, and Michael Franklin, who is one of the top QBs in Washington, another 8th grader that is going to be really, really talented. So they were both at Trent Dilfer's camp in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
So they missed, but we'll see them back in Las Vegas.
Elijah Elliott, I've heard about him for a couple of years, that this kid was on the come up, and wow, I saw him and could not believe his skill set. His body is matured early, so with any of these guys, a lot of times 8th grade domination has to do with maturing early. So there's a long road for these kids. They're a long way from being recruited, but Elijah Elliott lived up to the billing and was incredible. I forget because I go up and talk to him and I say, hey, what do you play? Are you a safety or a corner? And he looks at me funny and he's like, I'm a middle linebacker. I was like, oh, 8th grader, because he looks like he could be a hard-hitting safety on a varsity football team. He's thick. I couldn't believe how thick he was for an 8th grader. He dominated and obviously was a big part. And then Silas Starr, a really lanky kid who hasn't really totally grown into his body yet and already incredibly skilled. It'll be interesting to see where both those kids go to school. I think there's maybe Central Catholic, maybe Jefferson, Lincoln for each of them. I'm not sure where they're going to end up, but those are going to be guys to watch on the radar for sure.
Elijah Elliott, DeMarge Nelson.
Another one, yes.
Billy Nelson's younger brother. Miles Jackson, who was the 200-meter champ, sprinter. They have a whole group of kids there. Those 8th graders got a real shot. I'll be really interested to see what they do moving forward.
Before we move on from the 7-on-7 action, I just wanted to say I was really impressed with Ford Sports' performance, and I haven't had a chance to say that yet, or I haven't said that yet, that Tracy Ford does a great job with those guys, and they were geared up, ready to play. They brought attitude, they brought some poise, they brought some swagger, and then they delivered on the field, and it was good to see the best from Oregon and the best from Washington competing. And I think for the Oregon guys, it was a great learning experience. And I think they belong on that field with those guys completely. Again, I think it had a lot to do with postseason form versus preseason form. And I'm really excited to see. I'm hoping those two teams clash again late in the Vegas tournament.
Yeah, I'm hoping and I'm very optimistic. I think we're going to do well in Vegas. I think just like last year and the year before, actually, it's just a matter of reps. I mean, it's a little different with our guys. Getting a late start in comparison. I mean, I think they were playing in late December, so it should be good, man. We're all pretty stoked, and our coaching staff does a phenomenal job. Alex Brink and everybody else. I mean, it's a really good group. So I think we'll definitely do well.
Saturday, I went to Line Pro private coach Alex Linenkol's camp. He had Dawson Jaramillo from Lake Oswego, a left tackle, rated the number 10 player in the country for 2018, so he's a sophomore. And Travis Spreen, another sophomore from Jesuit who started since his freshman year. He's a center, probably the top center on the West Coast. And, Linenkol also works with Cody Shearer and Alex Forsyth and all those guys. So he works with all the top linemen. Had a chance to talk to him, but got eyes on Dawson for the first time in one-on-one drills in quite a while, I think over a year. And love the body, 6'6", 290. He's going to get big. He could probably be 6'6", 320 by the end of high school, and I don't even think that's a stretch. And he'd be fluid that way, which is incredible. But still a lot of technique stuff he's working on. I'm glad he's working with Linenkol because that's the guy. If you're a lineman that's coming up, Linenkol's the guy who knows technique. He grew up undersized, going to Oregon State, and he relied on technique to make it that far. So they're learning from the right guy. But Dawson, in one-on-ones that I saw, he was working with smaller guys against 6'2", 6'3" guys, and he had a tendency to reach and use his upper body for his power rather than kind of staying home, using his back, his hips, his butt, his legs to be the source of his power. So really impressed with the body, really impressed with his learning, but there's still a steep learning curve for Dawson, and I'm interested to see how soon he starts picking up some of this stuff because the talent's there, the base is there. Now it's about honing it and putting it together.
Yeah, with Alex Linenkol, I can't say enough good things. I think all of the top guys go train with him for a reason. His combination of just people skills with his knowledge is something you can't teach. I mean, he's incredibly fluid in all regards, and legitimately, like the top 9-10 guys all train with him. It's not like
unreal.
Yeah, there's not like 5 and 5. I mean, they all are training with Alex, and I mean, he puts the time and the effort in. I mean, countless hours of his own time just to make sure that things are run right. And I mean, don't take it from me. Go talk to the kids, what they think, how much they learn. Dawson is going to be as insanely good as he is. He's going to be that much better because of Alex.
Right.
And I mean, he's got that God-given size, ability, athleticism, so much stuff you can't teach. Dawson, good chance he's the best O-lineman potentially to ever come out of here. We'll see when all is said and done. But his ability to learn from someone like Alex, that's another combination of tools that I think we'll see when all is said and done as reference. But I think Dawson, Cody Shearer, Alex Forsyth, Jackson Kirkland, Travis McKay, the Dahl brothers,
Travis Spreen,
all
work with
legitimately all work and train with Alex. And when those guys are competing against one another, you're getting the best reps imaginable against the top kids. So you're only going to get better, not just from an instructional standpoint, but from a battle, a competition standpoint. And the more you do that, obviously, it's like anything else, the better you're going to get.
One of the things that really impresses me with Line Pro is that Alex is able to relate to the left tackle who's really big that needs to develop skills, the center who's undersized who needs to rely on technique, the right guard who has to worry about double teams on the inside, and Alex teaches him that, the left guard. Every position that you want to play, he knows not only how to teach it, but he knows what you're doing, not wrong, but what you still need to develop and learn from. And I did interview Dawson. I interviewed Travis Spreen, talked to Alex Forsyth, and all of them said the same thing, that they learn a lot from their high school coaches, and they didn't want to take anything away. But Alex's ability to teach them the college-level stuff has really helped them, and it's going to be really interesting to see because I think Alex has the top guys, but I think he's also, I mean, he works with third grade on up, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see if he can't build over the next decade some lineman pride in Oregon, and if Oregon doesn't start to become a state that has a number of really talented, really skilled offensive linemen, I think that's his vision, and I think it's there. We'll have a story on him, a feature on him in the next week or so. He's also hosting a camp, and I hope to be able to make it. I think I will be able to make it with all the top kids. He works so much in little groups because he wants to teach that he works with groups of 5, groups of 10, and it's hard to get the top 7 guys all to come together, but I think they might this Sunday. And if they do that, obviously I'll have another podcast next week and we can delve into that. I think Linenkohl might be my guest next week. That's another thing we're talking about, is having him come in. You know, you came in after the 7-on-7, have him come in after this elite line camp and talk about linemen and delve into that. But really exciting to see what's going on with the linemen, because it's not a fluke that these guys are all coming up together at the same time. These are guys that Alex started working with 3-4 years ago when they were 8th graders, and we're seeing the results.
Yeah, Lenny was a 6'2", 275-pound Mike Backer that tracked people down in high school. Like, if you pull up his film, not that too many people are doing that from 10 years ago, but the dude was elite just from an athletic standpoint. And credit to Mike Riley at Oregon State for kind of taking a chance and saying, look, we can make this guy. He's 6'2", 6'1.5", 6'2", 275. They made him 6'2", 305, and a 3-year All Pac-10 center because of his overall athleticism too. So to your point, where he just kind of knows the whole game in general. He knows all positions. He knows. He's able to elaborate and speak to a host of different things, which helps those kids just from a information standpoint. So it's one of those things where if I'm a lineman, if I'm a parent with a kid that's a lineman, I get out and see Alex, and don't take it from me. You can go see it for yourself. But there's a reason that all of these top kids are training with him.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily endorsing private coaching for everybody. I don't think that's necessarily the thing for everybody. But if you're a kid that wants to play college football and you have that ceiling or you have that opportunity, and you're feeling like you're on the bubble or something, heading into a senior year, a sophomore year, you're in the 5th grade and wanna be a lineman. He's a guy that can teach you a lot, and it was really fun to talk to him and get to know him a little more this weekend. I've met him, we chatted a few times, but I actually talked to him for 2 hours or something this weekend and really picked his brain about offensive and defensive line. It's my weakest area. It's the hardest area to scout, I think, for me. And to sit down with him and have him say, no, that's not right, this is how it should be, or this is what, it really helps me. And he's a lot of fun to talk to. I'm so glad I can use him as a resource. I want to talk about the coaches that are on Eforce, because I was really impressed specifically with Darren Thomas. That guy former Oregon quarterback, that guy takes it really seriously, and he's really involved. He was at the lineman camp and talking to the linemen about bend on the defensive line and getting underneath the block and swimming through, and he really has a passion for coaching, and it's really impressive. I wonder where he's going to end up. What are your thoughts on Darren Thomas, and how'd you guys get him?
Yeah, love DT, man. I mean, he came out the first week and has been out every week since. I mean, he doesn't miss, and this guy's got a lot of other things going on. He's still working out to play and this and that, but I mean, from just the standpoint of being genuine and loving what you do, I mean, this dude really, really enjoys the game of football. And when you have Alex Brink and Ryan DePaulo as kind of the foundation there with Eforce, and then you have James Dockery just getting done with his NFL career. Maybe he's not done, but he's out there every week grinding, working hard. I mean, Oregon State, great. Ryan McCants, the tailback with Jaquiz, he's been with us for the last 3 or 4 years. Aaron Kinsey running our elite D, our D that will Brink's running the O, Aaron Kinsey's running the D. Can't say enough good things about Aaron Kinsey. One of the most likable people you'll ever meet, football or no football, and just a phenomenal overall talent. Obviously, Linenkohl's running the line, and we have a host of other guys. Houston Lillard, Dame's brother, and
Brent Haberly.
Brent Haberly, one of the best. Once again, we got a bunch of good dudes, and I mean, people probably expect me to say this, but it couldn't be more sincere with regards to these folks. And I mean, just the knowledge. They are relatively high profile D1 and NFL guys that have been there, guys that with our athletes, these are guys that have been where these kids want to be, and they can here's what you need to do if you want to reach that level of play. So from that standpoint and just providing that perspective, it's a really, really important thing. Plus, it is, I've seen the opposite. I've seen guys that are big time that they don't feel like they need to be there, and so they're not, and I get it. So, but the guys that we have on staff, I can't say enough good things.
The last guy I want to talk about is Coach Don Johnson. I'm not sure, is he with you guys in an official capacity?
Yeah, I mean Don. We talked a lot about Don last podcast. I mean, he helps me a lot. We do a lot of the recruiting, and I mean he's, like we talked about, in a class of his own. He works more on Don kind of does everything. I mean, what doesn't he do?
That's what I was going to talk about. Is Don's at these camps. Don helps kids with recruiting, and Don's a presence, and he walks around the field and he can talk to the Washington guys, the Oregon guy, and everybody knows Don. It was really impressive to see him at times almost holding court. When it came to addressing both teams at the beginning, before, hey, no nonsense, we're not going to have any fighting, we're not going to have any of that. Don was the guy delivering the speech. He's also the guy joking with Savoy Ahmed. He's the guy talking to Tracy. He's the guy talking to Brink. Really impressive to see him kind of hold court and be in his element, because he loves it, and you can tell he loves it.
Kind of the general manager.
Yes.
He's got the presence. Everybody respects him. He's one of the top head coaches anywhere in this region. So, from a X's and O's standpoint, I don't know many people that are more intelligent or that, he incorporates so much of what he's been through, what he's grown up with, and you watch what Madison does this year. That school didn't have football a year and a half ago. They had 17 kids that came out between 4 classes or whatever, and they had 70 to 80 kids come out this past year. So he's taken on some incredible challenges, done a phenomenal job, and we are so fortunate to have him be a part of this. And we'll, he'll be in Vegas, and we'll definitely be looking to use all of his resources.
Jordan, thanks as always for being here. I appreciate it, and really looking forward to seeing the progress Eforce makes over the next 2 weeks, because I think it's going to be night and day.
Yeah, buddy, appreciate it.